The world embracing Islam.
There is a silent light rising, not with noise, not with force, but with quiet power. A light that's beginning to shine across the great cities of the West, from the alleys of London to the streets of New York. It is the light of Islam. No, it does not come wrapped in politics or violence, nor does it knock with a hand of fear. It enters through the heart, one soul at a time, through the eyes of those tired of emptiness, disillusioned with excess, and thirsty for truth. People who have everything but peace. Islam is not invading, it is inviting. It does not demand, it declares. There is no God but Allah. That simple yet mighty sentence has entered coffee shops, classrooms, hospitals, and prisons, spoken by people who once knew nothing of it but now feel everything because of it. What is it that makes a man in a suit leave the boardroom to bow 5 times a day? What makes a woman who once chased trends now chase truth in modesty and honor? It's not coercion, it's conviction. It's not tradition, it's transformation. Islam teaches not chaos, but discipline. Not isolation, but community. Not self-worship, but submission. It invites us not to worship the creation, but the creator of all creation. And in the midst of Western confusion, gender debates, moral collapse, spiritual voids, this message lands like rain on dry land. It is not the East imposing itself on the West. It is the human soul remembering its origin. People aren't just converting to Islam, they are coming home to it. They are not being conquered, they are being completed. And that, my dear listener, is the miracle of truth. You cannot silence it, you cannot bury it, because truth, like the sun, rises even after the longest night. And so, the silent light spreads softly, steadily, surely, and it will not stop, not because of strategy, but because it is divinely written that light shall overcome darkness, and hearts once touched by God will never be the same. Thank you. The rise of Islam in the West is not a clash, but a calling. This powerful yet often misunderstood movement is not driven by political ambitions or ideological warfare. It is not about one civilization overtaking another, but about hearts awakening to a deeper truth, one that transcends borders, languages, and cultural divides. The narrative we often hear in media and popular discourse tends to frame Islam as a foreign element, a threat, or something incompatible with Western values. Yet when you strip away the noise and the headlines, you begin to see something far more profound and beautiful. Islam is quietly entering Western hearts, not through arguments or aggression, but through the power of spiritual clarity, the beauty of discipline, and the undeniable integrity of its message. At the root of this calling lies a growing hunger. Western societies have advanced in technology, education, and infrastructure, but many people are waking up each day with a sense of inner emptiness. They have the comforts of life, yet feel a discomfort in the soul. The pursuit of pleasure, fame, and material success has left a void that science cannot explain and entertainment cannot fill. People are beginning to ask deeper questions. Who am I? Why am I here? What happens after this life? These are the questions that Islam addresses with remarkable simplicity and depth. Islam does not demand blind faith. It encourages reflection, study, and reason. It calls on the heart and the intellect alike. It connects the human being not only with his creator, but also with his purpose, his fellow humans, and even the environment around him. It is not surprising then that so many converts to Islam in the West describe their journey not as a leap into something foreign, but as a return to something familiar, a rediscovery. Many say that Islam put into words what their hearts had always felt. They speak of peace, not just the peace that comes after prayer, but the peace that comes from knowing where you stand with God and what is expected of you. In a world where everything seems to change, from values to identities to even truth itself, Islam offers a grounding, a constant, a clear path. The calling of Islam in the West is also seen in the everyday character of Muslims. who live their faith with quiet dignity. It's in the honesty of the Muslim shopkeeper, the compassion of the Muslim nurse, the discipline of the Muslim athlete who fasts in Ramadan while training. These small acts, done sincerely for the sake of God, shine brighter than any sermon or speech. They awaken curiosity, admiration, and sometimes deep respect. For many non-Muslims, their first experience with Islam is not through the Quran or a mosque. It is through a Muslim neighbor, colleague, or friend. And when they ask questions, they find not fear, but answers, not dogma, but a dialogue. This calling is not about changing one's passport or nationality. It's about changing one's inner state. It is a call to submit, not to a man or a system, but to the one who created man and all systems. It is a call to bow, not in humiliation, but in liberation. Liberation from ego, from confusion, from aimlessness. Islam does not offer an escape from the world. It offers a way to live in it, with purpose, with balance, with gratitude. And perhaps that is why, despite the attempts to marginalize or misrepresent it, Islam continues to grow, not in chaos, but in calm, not in masses, but in meaningful personal transformations. What we are witnessing in the West today is not a religious trend. It is a spiritual return. It is the soul recognizing the sound of its maker's call and choosing to answer. Even when it goes against societal expectations or personal comfort, this calling will continue, not because of campaigns or advertising, but because truth has a pull that no one can resist forever. And when that truth is lived with love, sincerity, and patience, it becomes not just a message, it becomes a light, a silent light, spreading across hearts, across homes, and across the very soul of the West. In an age where uncertainty fills the air and confusion clouds the mind, the quiet spread of Islam across the Western world is not a coincidence. It is a return to sacred values that many have forgotten. Modern life, especially in the West, has offered comfort, convenience, and technological progress, but it has often done so at the cost of spiritual depth and moral clarity. People have gained the world, but many feel they have lost their soul. Amidst this spiritual drought, Islam is being rediscovered, not as a foreign ideology, but as a divine reminder, a guide that leads people back to something ancient, pure, and true. Islam does not offer a new philosophy, it offers timeless truth. It is not a trend of the moment. It is a return to values that once formed the very foundation of humanity. Islam speaks directly to the heart's longing for structure, for meaning, and for balance. It is not rigid, but it is clear. It is not harsh, but it is firm. In a time when morality has become flexible, Islam presents a standard that does not bend to convenience. It calls for honesty when lies are easy, discipline when the world promotes indulgence, modesty when vanity is glorified, and devotion when distraction is everywhere. These values may seem countercultural in some Western societies, but they resonate deeply with the human soul because they reflect the divine order in which we were created. That resonance is why people from all walks of life, doctors, artists, students, former atheists, and spiritual seekers are embracing Islam. They're not running towards something exotic, they are returning to something essential. This return is visible in the simplicity and beauty of Islamic practices. The 5 daily prayers, the fast of Ramadan, the call to charity, and the striving to be a better human being. These are not rituals for ritual's sake. They are anchors in a drifting world. They provide rhythm in a chaotic life. In Islam, every act is infused with purpose. Even eating, sleeping, and speaking can become acts of worship when done with intention. This sacred way of living gives life itself a sense of depth that many in the West are desperately searching for. And so what some once viewed as restrictions, they now see as protection. What once looked like burdens, they now recognize as blessings. Moreover, Islam revives the sense of community, a bond that many people in the West feel has been lost. In the fast pace of modern life, people feel increasingly alone. Digital connections have replaced real ones. Families are broken, neighbors are strangers, and loneliness has become a silent epidemic. But walk into a mosque especially on a Friday or during Ramadan, and you will see strangers praying shoulder to shoulder, breaking bread together, greeting one another like family. Islam does not isolate the believer. It integrates him into a living, breathing, caring community. It doesn't ask you to walk alone. It invites you to walk with your brothers and sisters in faith. That sense of belonging, of being seen and valued, is a healing balm in a world full of social and emotional isolation. In the face of all this, the growth of Islam in the West is not surprising. It is inevitable. When the human heart is exposed to truth, beauty, and consistency, it responds. The rise of Islam is not due to force or persuasion, but due to its unmatched power to restore what modern life has taken away. A sense of purpose, a moral compass, a connection to the Creator, and a community of compassion. These sacred values are not foreign to the West. They are simply forgotten. And Islam is reminding people, one heart at a time, that they can return. That it's not too late to live a life of meaning. That sacred values are not a thing of the past, but a way forward to a more complete and peaceful life. The rise of Islam in the West is not a clash, but a calling. It is not the result of conquest, political agendas, or mass movements. It is a deeply personal and spiritual journey, unfolding quietly within individuals who are searching for something real in a world that often feels artificial. This calling doesn't roar through headlines or dominate loud debates. It whispers in the hearts of those who have tried everything, tasted every freedom, explored every pleasure, and yet still feel a lingering emptiness. It is in that quiet space of the soul, when all distractions fade, that the message of Islam begins to echo. A call to return to God, to purpose, to truth. And one by one, people are responding. In the heart of bustling Western cities, where life moves at a frantic pace, there is a growing number of men and women who are stepping away from the noise to listen to this call. They are not being convinced by arguments alone. They are not being swayed by culture or tradition. They are not being pressured by community or family. Many of them are alone in their search. They open the Quran for the first time out of curiosity and end up weeping by the time they close it. Not because they've been emotionally manipulated, but because they recognize something in those verses, a clarity they've never experienced before, a connection to something higher, something that finally makes sense. They begin to pray, awkwardly at first, then with more certainty. They begin to change, not out of fear, but out of love. Not because they were told to, but because something inside them finally feels aligned. This calling is powerful because it is natural. Islam does not ask people to abandon logic, to suppress reason, or to deny their senses. In fact, it encourages questioning, reflection, and sincere seeking. It doesn't appeal only to emotion, nor does it rely solely on ritual. It appeals to the whole human being, heart, mind, body, and soul. And that is why it is resonating so strongly in the West, where people are free to question, to think, to explore. In that freedom, many are finding Islam not as a restriction, but as a guide, not as a set of rules, but as a path to real freedom. The freedom from confusion, from contradiction, from a life without meaning. The so-called clash between Islam and the West is often exaggerated or even fabricated by those who profit from division. But when you look past the headlines, you'll find something else entirely. You'll find Westerners learning Arabic to understand the Quran. You'll find youth choosing modesty over popularity, choosing prayer over parties, choosing fasting over indulgence. You'll find people from all backgrounds, black, white, Hispanic, Asian, gathering in mosques, breaking bread together, united not by race or culture, but by faith. This isn't a clash. It's a calling, and it's not erasing Western identity, it's enriching it, offering spiritual depth to a world that's often focused only on the material. The calling of Islam is not urgent in volume, but in essence. It doesn't demand your attention through fear or pressure. It waits, it invites, and those who answer find something they didn't know they were missing. A purpose to live by, a structure to grow in, a peace that doesn't come from the world, but from the Creator of the world. This calling isn't just for a select few. It is universal, timeless, and powerful enough to reach anyone, anywhere. And that's exactly what it's doing in the West today. Quietly, steadily, and with incredible grace.
The world embracing Islam.